it's a bit of a key moment, I think, Sean, tactically, because we love Bradley. I think everyone's impressed with everything they've seen by him so far. But he's still not got that many games under his belt. Frimpong looks really exciting. Isn't the biggest, let's be crystal clear, isn't
so obsessed with the size of them all.
No, but someone's got to win headers. It's as simple as that. We know how this works in this. But this is, that is a thing here. It is disruption on what I'm saying in that position. So if you're going to disrupt the right centre-back position again, if you see what I mean, in terms of that. I just like the idea of some consistency, at least for 12 months, to get everything bedded in. But that doesn't mean Liverpool want to put themselves in a position where they could lose another big asset on a free. They've got to weigh all these factors up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think no matter what happens, I think you will see him for another 12 months, because from his point of view, if he doesn't get the offer that he wants, then he can run his contract down and he can get those big wages that, seems to be the done thing now with players, where they run the contract down and get the big signing on fee and stuff. So I think that if he doesn't get that offer, I think he will see him. And that will be in my nervousness as well. I think there's been a lot of change this summer, for a lot of good reasons. But too much change when you've just won the league, for me, just feels a little bit risky. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we should, err on the side of caution and try and keep something from this team. Do you know what I mean? Just from the league, lads. I guess the positive, if he was to go, is that the ground might stop shouting "Ibu" every time he does so. But no, I think, so I think you will see him for another 12 months. But I think I just hate this running contracts down and going, like the power is just with the player. And I think because we've just been burnt by it with Trent, I think there's going to be extra scrutiny on whatever happens with this one, because you've just said there the club have done, FSG have done a great job and aren't they brilliant, and I think
whoa. Yeah, you did not go that far, just John and if you're listening.
Yeah. And I've got full trust in them to do the right thing, like you said about the performance-based contract, and maybe if it's a bit more heavy on performance with Konate, it's for the right reasons, and I'm sure it will be. But that noise when he just goes for nothing and gets paid loads, it does creep up. It creates a bad atmosphere, whether it be for 1 or 2 games or whatever it is. We just don't want any of that around it. So preference for me would be just get it done and keep him.
I think on it, Sean, for me though, the fact that this has come out the way in which it's come out, it feels a little bit more not about the viability of a deal, but about the structure of a deal. So to use recent examples of contracts being run down, this to me feels a bit more part of the process as per Salah and Van Dijk than the lack of a process from Liverpool, which was Wijnaldum, or the lack of engagement as it appears to have been in retrospect with Alexander-Arnold. Wijnaldum, I think it was pretty clear Liverpool weren't that interested in putting anything on the table that was meaningful at any stage when it all came out in the wash. This, to me at least, it looks like Liverpool have put something really quite meaningful down in front of him, and this could just be part of the horse trade. And the Guardian article says Liverpool are going to reopen conversations later in the summer.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think if you think back last year when all the talk was about Salah and Van Dijk, Paul Joyce just randomly tweeted about Konate's contract. And everyone was like, that's a bit mad. Like, no one was even thinking about that. Do you know what I mean? So they've obviously been talking. It's obviously been leaked in that way to let everyone know that they're talking about it. So yeah, maybe you're right. And I think, again, just going back to trusting the club and trusting them to do the right thing, I think you've got to back them just based on recent history. Even the Trent thing, to get 10 million quid or 10 million euros or whatever it was for a couple of weeks is not bad business at all, is it, to be honest?
Especially when you see the way he's been playing in that Club World Cup. Glorious.
Exactly. So I think on this one you're right. I think the noise around it probably suggests that this is something that they want to get done and Konate wants to get done. He's probably just using that player power of having 12 months on his deal to try and get the best deal he can, and so would all away, wouldn't we?
I would say the club would certainly want to get it done, because obviously the optics around losing another player for free, and especially because it's not just PSG linked, is it? Real Madrid are going to need a centre half in 12 months' time, and this is very much their MO. But I think from Konate's point of view, he's probably thinking, well, you're offering me this deal as if I'm not a world-class talent. But then if you look at the two teams that are probably already made them an offer on the sly type of thing, he's probably thinking, well, I must be that good, because if Real Madrid want me and if PSG want me, I'll go there. But I think there can be sort of, not a lack of humility is not the right way of putting it, but it just goes back again to me that I think he's a great player, but he's got a higher ceiling than he's currently performing at. And if he thinks this is the biggest contract of his life and he's happy to just say that, I think the club are in the right to go, well, no, we think there's more to come from you and we want to incentivise you to do that. And listen, but I don't think the club are going to be offering them something that is sort of in the Ashley Cole leaving Arsenal way of if he crashed his car when he listened to the offer. I think it is going to be more of, listen, there's a lot of money to be made here, but you've got to jump through these hoops to get there. And I think that's Liverpool's. I think they've probably done the same thing with Mo Salah, and they've done the same thing with Virgil van Dijk, haven't they? They're not just giving these contracts out to players because of what they've done before. They're giving the contracts out now smartly and saying, this contract can earn you as much or as little as you want, but you've got to play your part in that.
I think there's also a thing there with like a big unknown, and it's always the case, right, when you're talking about players making that step up to leadership positions. There's going to be a gaping hole there in 2-3 years, right? You know, whether we like it or not, Virgil will eventually move on, and I know that the club have time to work that out, and you know, new players emerge over the years till we get to that point. But like, I think a big question the club probably are asking is this the guy who can be not that figure necessarily, but lead that back line, because he's at that age now where you want him to start being, you know, one of the leaders in the team. He's been here for a while now, and I think, like, you know, when you're giving players those sort of contracts, that does become a factor. I think especially in that part of the
he
pitch.
Seems a really big and important personality.
Yeah,
it's one of the things
does.
I'd say from afar. You know, again, the previous player who ran the contract down, so he can't carry his way with this stuff, was the vice captain. They haven't named another vice captain yet. I am intrigued to see who that ends up being. I think it's a more complicated thing than the obvious, not least because you actually want the vice captain to sometimes captain the team, and any game that Virgil's not playing, there's a fighting chance Salah's not playing, if you want to just say Salah, but it's then going to have a practical application as well. All of that said, if they give it to Salah, I think, all right, all the best. But to your point on, there is a bit of a leadership hole. He does seem like a really big personality, happy to get in front of microphones, happy to talk positively about what's happening, you know, and I think that stuff is important for Wad. It's good to have those people around. So, you know, you wonder if that's going to play a part, but then you also wonder if even the language within this Guardian piece, you know, disappointed is actually quite emotive language. Like, he's a bit sad. You know what I mean? Like, he would. But I think that's almost a bit him. I think he is quite an emotional player, an emotional person. Again, I feel this is a little bit of process. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive. I hope you're enjoying this free show at the moment. Loads of excellent, exciting stuff on the Anfield app. If you want to be part of the whole thing, you can download the Anfield Rap app and go from there. Or you can subscribe via the YouTube membership as well for video-only content and other bits and pieces. We love doing these shows. We love that you watch them. So come, be part of the journey with us.